Dazed and Confused, maybe in a little bit, but this podcast is going to be about going AWOL.
Going AWOL.
Going AWOL. Not a good thing. But and discussing what type of mindset sets you apart from the people that go AWOL and in life, and that could be literally like military installation that we'll talk about, or figuratively,
or
spiritually, or whatever it is,
fungally. You were. What brought this up? We were talking about this a couple weeks ago. There was an incident. We were
at my school
near Columbia, South Carolina. Yeah, where your kids go to school.
Yeah.
Dude jumped on the. He was in basic training at Fort Jackson. He jumped on a bus and held the bus hostage or something like that.
He was 3 weeks into basic training, and
see, we can't find the.
I've got
article at some point.
Yeah, I've got a AJC article that talks about it.
Cool.
But basically, he was 3 weeks into basic training, and I guess it was, let's say, maybe after breakfast, and they were probably cleaning their rifles. I know that we used to do that what seemed like the entire day, just because they're like, oh, we don't have any training planned today, so we're going to do PT, eat, and then you're going to clean your rifles for 10 hours, and like, You could
clean your rifles for 10 hours.
Yeah, it felt like it. I mean, when there's no other outside, stimulus and that it feels like 10 hours. But so he left and left his training area, and he left with his rifle. And he said, or it says, this is all allegedly, by the way, just to protect us. But just to protect us.
We are talking about guys going AWOL with weapons.
Exactly. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. Okay. But he said that he took it because to leave his weapon there would have caused suspicion. Like, whose weapon is this?
Right.
The accountability part of it. But if he's gone without his weapon and nobody really notices him,
Oh.
Yeah. So he takes his weapon. Crawls out. I think that he was, I don't know if it was before or after, but I think he was trying to flag down people on the highway and like hitting cars in order to get into cars.
So why do you think a bus stopped?
Well, it didn't. So Fort Jackson, I-77 is right next to it. So he gets through Constantina Wire to get off the fort. He didn't go through the gate. Okay.
Yeah, he's got to climb over some shit.
And anyway, watching the reporters ask questions like, "Can you
right?
Is it all patrolled? Yeah, it's a perimeter of about what works out to 200 miles. Yeah, we patrol and have
Jackson,
cameras.
dipshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's one of the largest training bases
in the country.
Yes. So he goes through Constantina Wire. He gets he crosses I-77, and then he goes into a neighborhood that's right next to there, and he opportunistic, I guess, a elementary school bus stops, and the bus driver said that he looked like a teenager. Mm-hmm. He's 23. Or is 23, but he looked like a teenager, and he was in PT wear, so basically shorts and a t-shirt, like every other teenager I know. And the bus driver thought that he was getting on, thinking he was going on the wrong bus. He's like, and the bus driver even says, "Hey, you're on the wrong bus." That's when he pulls out the M4. And
pulls it out from where? How do you
behind him?
If you have shorts and your BDU, your shirt on, I know, but it's like I pulled out my M4. Where were you hiding that thing?
But
whoopsie.
He pulls out the M4, points it at the. I think there might be a video in this one, but there's definitely video.
At the sky. He'll stick him up.
And he aims it at the bus driver, and
funny.
He tells him to drive. And then I think he wanted the bus driver to take him to, the next town. And that's what the article said. I'm like, I don't know where that is, but
take me to West Columbia.
Yes, that's where I can be.
Not going very far.
He's from New Jersey, so
he doesn't know.
Yeah.
He just missed his mama.
And so, watching the video, he's got the gun pointed at him, and then I think he says, at some point, like, I don't want to hurt it. Well, the kids that are on the bus, they start, all the kindergartners that are on the bus that have phones, by the way.
Yeah. Well, hey.
They're taking video, they're calling their parents, they're texting their parents.
Right.
And then some of them actually go up and start asking him if he's going to kill the bus driver, if he's going to kill them.
Oh, man.
The guy got so pissed off and upset that he stopped the bus after 6 minutes of this, and he's like, everybody get off.
Look, you want to solve all the problems in the Middle East. Let's just send a busload of kindergartners to ask them questions all day.
Like that whole "what would a fifth grader say" thing, or
they will give up.
Yeah. Anyway, so then the bus is stopped, and he tries to start it, and he can't drive the bus because guess what?
Because he's a 23-year-old idiot.
Well, and also it's apparently hard to drive a bus.
I wouldn't know.
No, exactly. And so, and maybe it was a stick shift. I don't know. I don't think they are now, but
maybe.
So
South Carolina, we have pretty old buses.
No, this was a brand new bus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so he can't figure out how to drive the bus. So he also can't figure out how to open the door. The bus door that closes shut. He can't figure out how to quite open that. So he pushes the thing and then goes down the stairs and it closes on him. He's like, and then finally, what was it? Our sheriff for the county personally chased his ass down.
Yeah.
Is what I understand, and arrested him personally. And
I take offense to that.
Oh my God, yeah.
That Michael Jordan meme, and I took offense to that.
So that was one person, and that went AWOL. But I feel like there's almost an AWOL mentality that. Okay, in that literal position, and so if you don't know what AWOL is, AWOL is absent without leave. So you could, and I've seen some things in military.com and everything to where they're trying to redefine AWOL right now because sometimes you oversleep and you don't go to work.
It's not the same as being AWOL.
Technically, you're AWOL.
I know it's technically.
Yes, exactly. But
I just wouldn't want to be late for a meeting and everybody's like, "Well, he's dead." This is a big jump.
No. Well, the thing is I think in Fort Hood there were soldiers that they said, these people have gone AWOL. Turns out they were dead for one reason or another. After investigation, and so that was why they're trying to redefine, So, but if it's reported as they're AWOL, I don't know. I
wouldn't know inner workings of the military,
right? But then
nomenclature work.
Desertion is the next level.
Okay,
and that's I believe it's in wartime, which technically I don't think that we've been out of wartime since 1991. If I'm correct.
Yeah, it's like the forever war, whatever they call it.
And
it's like 20 years.
In fact, I was in 98 to 2001 before I broke my back, and we were actually in wartime, and this was before September 11th happened. So we were all confused, we get the a wartime ribbon, but there's no actual.
I didn't go anywhere.
War, right? Yeah, exactly. What is going on here? And then September 11th happened, and then so that desertion happens in time of war, and it's the next level, and that used to be punishable by firing squads.
This desertion probably should be.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like there's a mentality that leads somebody to go AWOL in this physical sense. I was telling you about the Serial podcast, season 2. Bo Bergdahl, Private First Class Bo Bergdahl, where was he?
I've heard that name before.
Yeah. I mean, because it became a big thing.
Okay.
But it is in the middle of the night. PFC Bo Bergdahl grabs a notebook, snacks, water, and some cash. Then he quietly slips off a remote U.S. Army outpost in eastern Afghanistan into the dark, open desert. About 20 minutes later, it occurs to him he's in way over his head. And then, like, you should. I mean, it's an interesting story because of, you know, like how just everything just started to go downhill. But also, it's an interesting story, you know, like as a former military person, but even as, you know, if you're not a former military person, listening to it going, there were a lot of shitty things that, you know, that even I dealt with in the Army. But what took you to a point to where you do that?
Right.
And then, and then, I mean, like in his case, they had, you know, brigades out in the desert looking for him and stopped everything. And in fact, with, you know, with this guy that was at Fort Jackson, you know, they've stopped firearm training for a certain amount of time to figure out how they can do better. I mean,
right. Of course,
you know, right. And so you know, the ramifications aren't just on the person. It's all, you know, it's the bus driver that you pointed a gun to. It's the kids that saw all this that
all their parents that are now pissed.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the police that have to get involved. It's the Army base going, you know, trying to defend, you know, like.
Well, yeah, I want to figure out why the guy did it. And what they do to
but also the ratio of people that actually leave like that, very small to the amount of people that actually stay. And that's, you know, what's the difference in between that 23-year-old that was 3 weeks into basic training? You know, there are people that just shut down and quit, or you know, say I'm going to kill myself, and you know, then his or her entire platoon is on suicide watch for the next 3 days.
If anybody ever pulls a Corporal Klinger anymore.
That's a whole other thing, especially now. So yeah, I think it's okay.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
he was always trying to get out.
Yes. So, but you know, and thinking back to the days in Confused, honestly, I remember that movie. I never saw it going into the Army.
Okay.
But I went to Fort Benning for infantry training, or that's where I in-processed and started my Army career. And before you go to your full basic training, which for infantry is 16 weeks, for everybody else it's, I don't know, 9 or something like that. Then you go to like your where you learn how to do your actual job while you're in the military. But for infantry, it's all the same. You just go shoot things. But the in-processing center there is like this dark purgatory. You know, you get on a plane, you know, I went to Fort Jackson, you know, had my barcode put on me so they could scan me along the way to track me. And then, you know, got on a plane to somewhere in Georgia, then took the bus and ended, I think you get there like in the middle of the night, or it feels like in the middle of the night.
Yeah, they and then don't really care what time you get there.
Right.
Just like process them in.
And then it's hell after that because you're up all night and, you know, you're trying to fill out paperwork and people are yelling at you and they're dumping all your shit out on the floor. And, you know, it's like, oh, you know, I brought my soap, but this guy brought a knife in his bag, you know, like, and now we've got to put that away and you'll never see this stuff for another 30 days. And I don't think the haircuts happen until like maybe the next morning because the barbers aren't on duty at 2 in the morning.
Right, they got to come in at 8 in the morning.
Exactly. And also keep in mind that the drill sergeants that are in processing people have just come out of I believe they've just come out of a drill sergeant rotation.
Oh, so they're all amped up.
They're all amped up. Well, either that or they're just like totally mentally exhausted, and they hate you at this point.
They just want to go home.
It's perfect. So it's this perfect storm of, you know, if you already, we know that there's a lot of mental illness,
right,
in general, and I don't want to discount any of that,
right.
But beyond that, if you're not strong mentally anyway, then going into that situation, even before you get into basic training, is tough because, again, it's this purgatory. I think I was in for like 2 days, and then we had a weekend, and I only remember Dazed and Confused because over that weekend they show you a movie. And they showed Dazed and Confused, and that was the first time I ever saw it. I'm like, what's this? Oh, this is actually kind of cool.
It's a good movie,
right? But like those two, and then I think I was in for like another two days or something like. But those 2 to 5 days that you're there waiting to go to your basic training place is like, you know, all stimulations cut off, everything that you've known is cut off, and it's a tough situation. So. Also, when you come in at 11 o'clock at night and you're in processing all hours of the night, over here in the corner are the kids that were trying to go AWOL that they caught, and they keep them in this, or at least back then, they keep them in this main room to where everybody's in processing with the lights on at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Interesting.
And those kids are trying to sleep. Well, at that point, they really don't care about them, and I won't call them all the names that they're called as as you're walking by them. But when I came in, I think that there were 5 people that were there that had tried to escape, and I don't think that you were technically legally AWOL at that point because you haven't. Even though you've signed a contract, I don't think that it's been fully activated at that, whatever it is. I feel like they are just separated and they don't get like a dishonorable discharge or anything like that, as far as I knew back then. And then, after you have to pass a PT test, you have to have all your shots, get your hair shaved. I went in shaved actually because I didn't
pre-shaved
because you have to pay for them to shave your hair.
Really?
Yes.
That's weird.
Yeah, I mean, even like you get there and you've always seen the barber's cut. You have to pay for that.
What?
Yeah, and like
I don't understand that.
Half of these kids, like 18, 19-year-old kids that half of them are going to the Army because they're trying to.
What does it cost?
I don't know. Back then it was like $10.
Wait, why? What?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, because that was including your tip, I guess.
It's enough to make me want to go AWOL.
Yeah, and all they're doing is like,
I mean, what?
You're done. Go next.
They're not government employees?
I don't think so.
Or contractors?
I don't know.
Sorry.
Well, they're going to be contractors.
I don't want to derail this, but this is weird. This is weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they make you pay for it yourself. Like,
maybe that's why at least one of those 5 people went AWOL.
Can you decline? Can you be like, no, sir, I'll keep money? You're like, no, you're going to pay anyway? You're like, wait, I didn't bring... What happens if you don't bring money?
They'll just take it out of your next paycheck.
Oh, so that's what they do. Okay.
Yeah, well, and yeah. Or, I don't know. I mean...
Man.
Yeah. But
that's bullshit.
But I was like, I'm going to get them. I'm going to cut my own hair.
One of your first lessons is that this is bullshit.
Could be.
All right, sorry.
Yes, there's bureaucracy in every level.
I just find that amazing.
It is funny, in a way. But so you get on a cattle car to go to basic training. At least back then we did. Maybe now it's like plush limousines or something. I mean, every single you know who you are. Every single person that's gone through the military always thinks that the people that come after them have it easier.
It's the same in college.
True, but we would literally call, you're going to cakewalk. You're going to cakewalk brigade or platoon or whatever. That's easy over there. Like the people that came in 6 weeks after us had it so much easier. I don't think so. But you get off the cattle car and they immediately come to you with a shark attack. Which I've heard, again, for all the cakewalk people that live in La La Land that go into the military now, that they're not allowed to do shark attacks, which is basically...
I bet they still do.
I hope so.
I've seen the videos.
Yes, but you come out and you have your stuff and don't pack light because you're holding up, I had to hold up both of my bags like this until my arms dropped. And then when my arms dropped, I had to do push-ups until my arms dropped. Oh. Yeah. But they're yelling at you constantly. I can still see one of their faces. But it's but that's.
So why didn't you go AWOL?
I joked a lot about.
I mean, yeah, I know everybody made jokes about it.
Yes, but I
like screw this, I'm out of here. You know, I'm sure.
I literally said to other people who, when we were talking about the shitbags that were going AWOL, that
that's a pretty nice nickname. By
yes,
the way.
exactly.
Okay.
I would literally say to my friends, I'm like, well, these drill sergeants don't know my ex-girlfriends. And the crap that they put me through. And so, but I mean, it was always a joke, but some of it was true. But I don't know. I mean, I was a little bit older when I went in, but I mean, there were kids. My best friend, in basic, he was 18, and Etheridge, if you're out there. And like, we bonded together. I bonded with a couple of guys that were coming up from Puerto Rico on the bus over, and then we all bunked together in that purgatory and in processing.
You're just clinging on to any
type of
anything that's familiar, even from 5 minutes ago.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And
that's how that works.
And so, maybe it's that human connection. Maybe for me, again, I was a little bit older, but again, like, there were young kids. There was at least one or two that came in at 17 years old.
Right.
I mean, our drill sergeant, Sergeant Poff, he came in at 17 years old, got the waiver to come in at 17. One of the first things he did was, after he taught us how to clean the latrines with one paper towel.
That sounds like a great,
yes, it was awesome.
Terrible time.
I taught my son how to do it from them. Like,
with one paper towel.
Yes, one. But he taught everybody how to shave. Now, I was 22, 23, something like that. But there are a lot of kids that maybe needed that. So sometimes it depends on your drill sergeants. It depends on the people around you. It depends on your mentality and how you deal with things. But also keep in mind that, even for me, like, I left something that I hated or I was dissatisfied by, and it was a negative dissatisfaction, that I needed to have a change, and this was probably the most extreme change that I could think of.
Yeah.
And so, I kept going back to, you decided to do this, so do it. And it, some of it sucked, some of it was fun. And, but as long as I had that mentality, then I probably wasn't going to get away. Oh, and also, I think I told you one time that I went in like, November 9th, November 11th, something like that. And we were there for a month or so, maybe a month and a half at the most. And then they send you home for 2 weeks for Christmas.
And bring you back to basic?
Oh my God, that is a mind.
Why would you do that?
Oh, it was horrible. Yeah. Like, I'd rather go the entire 16 weeks.
Yeah, just get it.
That was horrible because everything that, you're like, okay, I'm here, I'm going through the I'm living through the suck and everything, and then you're like, okay, go home and be a regular person for only 2 weeks.
That's like putting on wet shorts before you jump in the pool.
Exactly.
It's like,
it hurt. It hurt. I saw all my friends and
yeah. I mean, like, how's it going? Well, it's not done yet.
Oh, exactly. And then I had to go back.
Gross.
And it's just like everything else that that sucks that you do for a second time.
Yeah.
It sucks even more.
Yeah. Well, then
yeah. But. Yeah, what is the difference in what I went through? Or even, again, there were 50 people in my barracks for my platoon, and a battalion or at least there was made up of 4 different platoons. So there's 100. No, sorry, there's 200. Do math, Grids. There's 200 people that are there, and we had one go on suicide watch, and I don't think we had any run away during that time. So it's, you know, and again, we went 16 weeks. Here at Fort Jackson, they only go for, maybe it is like 6 weeks or whatever, then they go to their AIT. And like, if you could only make it halfway through basic training, you know, before you even get to everything else, like where did you go wrong in there? What type of mentality did you not have? And again, I do go back to, like, a lot of people are sometimes they're forced to, because I met those people, but they're trying to change their lives because they don't see another option right now. So that is an option for them. And then that dude 3 weeks in goes, well, this is not an option for me.
Right.
And then he continually made 19 counts of kidnapping is where he's at right now. Plus, a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah,
they're figuring out what else to throw at him.
Yeah, they want to bury him.
Right, but he
embarrassed everybody.
The Army did come back and say that we legitimately think that he was just trying to go home, but he did it in the worst possible way.
The quite worst possible way. Kidnapping a busload of kindergartners.
Right.
Just if you're wondering, not the right. Take an Uber.
Oh, I mean, run away, dude.
Just on foot.
Run away.
Yeah.
Go away.
Yeah, I know.
Don't get
you made it out.
If you're thinking about going AWOL when you join
don't
the
take
Army,
the M4.
Don't take the M4, one, and then two, don't use it to get on the bus.
Yeah,
he had He had no ammunition, and they knew
Doesn't
that.
matter.
Yeah, but it's just still it counts the same.
Yes, it does.
It counts.
It's still
the
a
same.
gun, and they don't care.
So that's
it's a good setup.
You're in over your head, but that's in a military sense, and that's literally where the words come from. However, it's not just in the military. There are people that go AWOL every single day.
Yes.
Sometimes they're your family, your friends,
your relationship,
your coworkers, other relationships you have, and so what mindset sets you apart from those people that go AWOL in your life, and how can you help yourself to keep the mindset that that doesn't let you do that, but two, like, sometimes you also have to help others that you might see that are going, like, you have the buddy system in the Army. I had my battle buddy.
They call them something different now, don't they?
Probably, yeah. I don't know.
I thought I read that somewhere.
Yeah, I don't want to look it up because I like battle buddy because it sounds so fun.
It does.
Sounds so fun, and
it feels like you're playing like laser tag or something.
Yeah, and my battle buddy Griff.
Griff and Grizz.
Griff and Grizz. Yeah.
It's like a movie.
I think his last name actually was Griff, but he was from Miami. He was National Guard, so he just had to go through basic, and then he got to go home. I was like, and like he goes home. I mean, Miami. He was like, yeah, man, I got these white pants that I wore while I'm going clubbing. I'm like, I need to look him up.
Boy.
Yeah. So but they're like if you had a battle buddy or whatever it's called now, then a good battle buddy yells at you and says, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Right.
Or is near you, and
right. That's a good friend would do.
Right.
Someone who actually cares.
Exactly. And but it's sometimes when you lose track of that person, then they go AWOL. And is it your responsibility? Well, in the Army, it kind of is, because you can actually get in trouble for what your battle buddy does.
Or you
really? Could, I don't know. Or at least they'll yell at you. and I got yelled at a bunch with Griff, but also he got yelled at a few times with some things that I did. But your battle buddy is supposed to be looking out for you. But again, am I my brother's keeper? Yes or no? And in New Jack City, they said no. That shot somebody or something. Anyway, one of my favorite movies. But looking out for your friend, maybe you recognize those things. But again, meandering at this point, but go back to the mentality that you have to have in order not to go AWOL, literally or maybe figuratively, within your own life. Any thoughts?
Well, I've never gone AWOL on anything. But I am faced with it a lot, and I do think about it a lot, and I do get angry when people do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the term AWOL in the military sense is one thing, right? Away without leave or whatever. You're being paid to do something and you don't show up.
Right.
I guess that's one level. I've had that happen. I've had I suppose we could go through the spectrum of AWOL.
Yeah.
I guess we won't hit them all because there's probably millions of it. But
yes.
like I've had contractors like in my business, they just like go dark, and you're like, it's a 4-week project. They're 2 weeks in, and they just like stop responding to you.
Right.
You're like, what's going on? And you just don't hear anything. I've literally had that happen like last August. We're somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And it's like,
hello.
I mean, we got 2 weeks. What's going on? And then like nothing.
Yeah.
I don't understand that one. I mean, I after the fact, did the old saw him in the grocery store after action review. Like, hey, you're a bastard. What happened? And they told me they were overwhelmed with their personal life, and they took on too much.
Yeah.
Which didn't help me.
Right.
Did not make me angry.
Yeah.
It made me more angry.
Yep.
I was like, what the fuck?
There are ramifications for other people besides just yourself when you go AWOL.
Yeah. So, I will never work with them again. And I've been asked since then by other people to basically like, would you recommend working with this person? And I've had to tell them the truth.
Yeah.
While I don't like talking bad about people, I will tell you the truth if you ask me.
Yeah.
It's one of the principles that I try to live by. If you're a fuckhead, then another person I know who's a friend of mine wants something from this person.
Right.
I kind of feel obligated to tell you. Well,
Right.
I mean, they've been great, but in this one instance, they just kind of disappeared on me.
Yeah.
Like,
it's the
take it
it's
as
the,
you. Yeah.
It's a fact.
Take it as you will.
It's a fact.
I don't know if you ever had anything like that. I'm sure you have.
Work-wise?
Yeah.
Yeah. Owning different businesses and having employees, and also, when I also worked with you too, like we saw contractors do that before, and then, sometimes they come in and save the day at the last minute because that's just their MO. But that's maybe a little bit different. But yes, I've had employees that just disappear.
I've never had an employee do that. Well, no, I have, but they eventually showed back up.
Right.
But you ran a restaurant.
Yeah.
And that's a different type. I'm
yes.
Not being an
no,
asshole.
It's true.
It's a different type. A person who works in a restaurant. I mean, let's be real. It's a different type of employee.
Different station in life.
Yeah, than a professional. Than
a lawyer,
a graphic designer.
Okay, yeah.
Those are different professions.
Yes.
So when your graphic designer employee is gone for the day and you don't know where they are, you kind of are more like, wow, something must be wrong. I should find out what's wrong.
Right.
As opposed to your hourly employee doesn't show up. You're like, they just blew me off.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't be thinking that way, but
no.
I mean, I've worked with both.
Yeah. It depends too. Like, if you were manager, like I was owner of 2 restaurants, and I can specifically remember one time to where we had one of our busiest days ever, and I had one employee not show up, and we worked with 3 employees total.
Yeah.
On a daily basis. It was, that was just enough to make everything, people made money, everything was great.
Right.
But that one person just decided not to show up, not only or oversleep, but like just not show up the entire shift. And, so it's me and one other person trying to deal with the entire restaurant. But I also considered everybody that worked for me my kids, no matter what their age. And so that was a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
Because we, I wanted them to come back.
Right.
And they weren't, technically they're all replaceable,
Yeah.
You know, but I wanted them to come back, and I felt that fatherly sense towards them to make sure that, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I would give them books on, you know, the
he's trying
Stephen
to
Covey book and
coach them and,
yes,
and imprint upon them a little bit and how to.
And I said that if you're still working at this restaurant in 5 years and you're not a general manager or the owner of it, then you need to really rethink your
we
life.
got problems. Yeah.
And there's some of them that unfortunately still are there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's that, right?
Yeah.
The employee type situation.
Yeah.
Then you got like friends that kind of go AWOL on you.
Yeah.
And there's different flavors of that that I've experienced. I guess I can only talk about pet peeves. This is going to be a bitch episode, but no, really, because you know I'm sure I've done this stuff to other people. I'm not aware.
Sure.
So maybe that's how it works. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, where you're like, hey, we're going to do this thing on Saturday. Cool, let's do it. And then like nothing.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
Yeah.
You know, yeah, that one drives me crazy.
And it should. It should.
You're like, or you know, there's levels of that, right? There's the no show, then there's the like last minute cancel.
Right.
It's like, you know, 5 minutes. You're there at the place,
Right.
And then they're like, I'm not going to show up. And you're like, well, technically you told me you weren't coming, but you also did the same thing as a no show.
Right.
You just
It's the timing of it.
yeah, the timing was bad. And then there's the
fall off the face of the earth.
yeah, there's that one.
Where?
There's that one.
Nobody can find
So
them.
what is that mindset? I mean, that's not the like one of the things that you know, one of the memes that I'll post or one of the things I'll tell people when I'm coaching them or whatever is that, you know, no is a full sentence, you know.
Yeah.
You can say no. Like if somebody's like, hey, let's do this thing, and you're personally overwhelmed or you've got some more shit going on you can deal with, or you simply don't want to do it, you can just say, no, thank you.
Right. But we try not to do that with our friends.
Yeah, but you know, it's what's better. Like I think you should, if you're one of those people and you're like you have trouble saying no, but you are the same person that just blows it off or hides from it.
Yeah.
I think you should know that that's way worse.
Yes.
For you personally and your reputation.
Yeah.
It's way worse than if you simply say I'm too busy, no, or I'm not into that or whatever.
Right.
That person might be like, oh, you know, come on or whatever, but that's a lot better than and then saying no, it's not going to happen. That's a lot better than just like, where the hell were you? You know.
True. Well,
that's a reputation killer for me because I will not invite you again.
Right. I have a problem saying no.
I do too. I have a huge problem telling people no. Like it's hard.
Yes, it is.
I've gotten better at it, but
I've gotten better at it too. But I find myself very busy, and because I also. You know,
do a lot of stuff.
Whether it's to my wife, my kids, my friends, you know, I'm extremely busy this week.
Yeah.
But when you said, well, maybe this was less like saying yes to something because of an obligation, but saying yes because of like, oh, I can go, you know, talk for 2 hours about fun shit instead of doing my job.
Well,
I
hope it's enjoyable.
Yes, but you know, I'm extremely busy this week.
Yep.
And I'm surprised how many things have come up this week where people have asked me to do something, and I've said yes to all of them. And maybe I shouldn't, but at the same time, like it's not always out of a sense of obligation. It's like I also feel like I can do all these things too, because it goes back to that mindset of like I feel like I've prepared myself enough to where I know this has to be done. This is going on.
So I'm glad you went there because that's one of the things that I mean. I have done coaching with people, personal, like not just fitness or martial arts, but the actual like, how do I not be a shitty person coaching?
That's always good.
And one of the things, this will come up a lot. They like people will say like, I feel like I could think back to a person in particular. They said like, I feel like people don't like me because I can never get my shit together, basically. And I think a lot of that I think people are going to do that, like ghosting you. Well, they might ghost you because they don't like you. And
That's
they
true
don't want
too.
to tell you no.
Yeah, there is that other
There's
side.
a lot. Ghosting conversation is a whole thing, but
Yeah.
like we're talking about like the no-show, the going AWOL on a planned thing or a relationship or whatever.
Right.
Maybe they're feeling overwhelmed, they're feeling anxiety or whatever that is, whatever is manifesting them to like not show up and blow you off or whatever.
Yeah.
And they might have a problem saying no, but I think a lot of that comes from them not or us. I shouldn't say them because I've done it too. Of us not having a clear set of priorities.
Sure.
Right, and that sounds like you feel confident that you can handle these things because you have things prioritized.
Yeah.
You know that I can squeeze this in because I know how I'm going to take care of this and I know how I'm going to take care of this.
Right.
And those are the two most important things.
Right. And
The
also,
rest of the shit can just sit till next. Like you know that no one's going to get bent out of shape
Right.
because of this one thing, so
Right.
I'll just move it down the list. I think a lot of people have trouble prioritizing the most important in like just random crap that's not really important.
right. I know work-wise exactly what I need to get done today.
Right.
And I know about how much time it takes. But again, it's there's mindset, but there's also preparation and
Absolutely.
And I mean insert another project into there that I've got going on, like then I have the oh shit, I've also got to do that like type thing. Like that needs to be done today too.
Well, that's always going to happen.
Yes. But then I am trying my best on the preparedness side to say, okay, I know these things that I've got to do, and I'm saying yes to things that again are adding to all the things that I have to do, but I haven't at least this week haven't gotten to the point to where if something unexpected comes up, then everything falls to shit.
Right.
And so
that can happen.
So that's another thing, but if something unexpected does come up, that's when I feel like the mindset comes in.
That's right.
That you have to have of okay, there's all these things, but then this came up, and this is something that grinds everything.
What trumps
to a halt.
everything else?
Right.
Yeah.
And having the ability to not freak out and go AWOL on everything and deal with not only that situation but also everything else that you already have to do. And a lot of people, I mean, we've always said that every deadline is technically artificial except for like being born and dying, but everything else is negotiated artificial deadline. But if
what is that Hitchhiker's Guide quote? Was like, I love deadlines. I love the whooshing sound they make when they go by.
Right. But you if you, I don't know. I mean, you just have. I feel like you have to have a certain mindset in order to know that you can get things done.
Right.
And I was going to say that that if some things have to be pushed off because they are artificial deadlines, then they're pushed off. And if it's something that
right.
Then you can explain like, hey, this happened. Anyway, but
that's the other side of it too. Is like if someone is like basically blows your plans off and doesn't show up.
Right.
Like.
Do you want to know why, or do you care?
Well, it's partly communication too, right? If
Sure.
it's like, oh, they didn't show up, but you're known for showing up,
right?
And when you later, you're like, man, flat tire, I got screwed or whatever.
Right.
Forgiven.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Like you could have called, but
yeah,
it's I got a flat tire because my car ran over my phone and both were broken.
Or even if you were like, you know what, I melted down. Like I was overwhelmed and I freaked out. Sorry, I will, whatever. Got to be honest with you. Like even that, I think it's, people's egos get in the way.
Yeah.
Which leads the whole thing about not asking for help and they're gonna blow you off because they are overwhelmed, but they're just like suddenly they tried prioritizing the prioritizing experiment and they put you at the bottom, but they forgot that you're a person and you had a thing that you agreed to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they just put you lower and whatever. you're going to take it personally.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're communicating with you properly, I think you can get away with a lot of stuff. I mean,
well, that's why I say too, like with the situation with the 23-year-old at Fort Jackson going AWOL.
well,
like,
you can't just communicate. Well, I don't know. You tell me.
you can communicate.
If you're
it
like-
doesn't mean that you're going to get what you want.
Right. He's not going to just get let home. But if he's like legitimately losing his mind,
Yeah,
they're going to help him.
one way or another.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not going to end up where he's ended up now.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah. No, and yes, and that's the thing. Like,
I mean, he's going to jail
right.
for a long
For
time.
a long time.
Like, you probably wouldn't end up there. You're still going to be in the military probably at the end of the day. But
well, I think I
your
feel like
capacities-
if he just would have gone AWOL and he's legitimately trying to get home and just
yeah,
is mentally unfit one way or another,
they're gonna
to
sort that out.
continue it. They're going to sort that out. Sometimes that pressure of being overwhelmed and then not knowing what to do because you don't
Right.
have the capacity. Okay, again, maybe mentally and emotionally, literally does not have the capacity.
Right.
Don't know the person, and trying to give a bit like I would want in my former life, I'd call him a shitbag, but older, I look at things and I go, maybe he just had some things wrong with him and he was in the wrong place doing the wrong thing that he never should have been there in the first place.
It sounds like what it was.
Right.
I mean, that's usually the case.
But when you have that pressure and feel overwhelmed, you start making mistakes, and you will make mistakes.
Make bad decisions.
Right. You make bad, very well. You remember that movie, Very Bad Things?
Yes.
Oh, I love and hated that movie.
Yeah.
But it was just like everything led to
Yeah.
the next bad decision to where
That's
like,
how it works.
whew. And
Yeah.
if you have that ability to stop, if he would have stopped at one point and said, fuck,
Yeah.
like, I mean, just leave your M4
Yeah, I know.
at the concertina wire.
Dirt.
It's out of the way,
Yeah.
But if he just would have stopped at one point, then everything else, it would have still sucked.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be as bad as it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that mindset of going AWOL that people have, again, there, but also your friends and family and everybody else that does it,
Yeah.
to whatever degree it is, I feel like people just, they feel like they have no other alternative.
Yeah.
But the truth is, you always have an alternative.
Yes.
There is nothing,
Everything's a decision.
everything's a decision. And
And even doing nothing is you're deciding to do nothing.
True.
You have to remember that.
Yeah.
So when you when you're blowing your buddies off, that's a decision.
Yeah.
That's not like, oh, it's out of my hands.
Right.
I mean, you decided not to do that.
Right. But
And then if there's a reason why you weren't there, and you still didn't tell them, you decided not to tell them.
right,
So it's just something to keep in the back of your mind.
right. But then everything else that you work on with Warrior Mindset that I try to work on a daily basis, the things that we talk about, sometimes they're negative,
Yes.
but sometimes they're positive.
Look, I don't dig all the super positive memes all the time.
yeah,
You've been posting quotes. Like all just
They're
like
not
the
all positive.
blindly super positive quotes are kind of pointless.
yeah,
Like life is probably 75% disappointment. I mean, honestly, and I'm not being negative. I'm just being real.
I understand.
I don't know that any time in human history where it's been 100% happy times.
No.
Like for any human being. Like this is not going to happen.
No. Well, the one I posted today was the wisdom of a nurse, which my wife's a nurse. So, but Florence Nightingale, I attribute my success to this: I never gave or took an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
That right there. I mean, because the mindset that you have going AWOL is you're giving yourself excuses.
Yeah, that's
you're giving
where-
yourself an out.
Yeah.
And it's okay to give yourself an out sometimes because then you just beat up on yourself
Well, yeah,
constantly.
absolutely.
But you're giving yourself an excuse to
Mm-hmm.
rationalize, if I do this, but again, you're making a decision and and having a poor mental mindset can put
Yeah.
you in a place to make very bad decisions.
It took me a long time to realize that people who are constantly looking to improve themselves and grow really is a minority.
Yeah.
And then people who work on developing the skills to help themselves improve and grow is an even bigger minority, right? I think most people don't. It's not that they're like actively like, I don't give a shit about growth
Yeah.
or improvement. I just don't think most people, they don't think about it.
No.
I mean, whether they improve or not, it's just kind of haphazard. Like, well, maybe they did because they were in a situation and they learned from it and they kept going. But I don't think. I think the minority of people are actively looking at that process.
Right. It's true. Well, and it kind of goes to something I was telling you about earlier, that the difference between positive and negative dissatisfaction. You know, like if I joined the Army because I had negative dissatisfaction with my life. I was like, fuck this, things are not working out. I need to make a change. And certainly did change my life, but it probably wasn't. It ended up being a good decision because that's what the decision was, and here I am today. And none of that changes for me. But the place I was to make the decision was probably not the best place in the world. And so again, you can make bad decisions,
Right. Yeah.
because of the negative dissatisfaction you have. If you have positive dissatisfaction, maybe that's this sucks. However, there are still things that are pretty good. How can I make everything better, as opposed to this sucks, I hate it, and I'm going to use the hate to fuel everything that I do. Well, guess what? That hate is jet fuel,
Yeah.
right?
It is,
and
yeah.
it burns hot, and it burns fast,
Yeah.
and it goes away.
Yep.
And then what?
Yeah.
Then can you sustain,
That level's hard to sustain, man.
Right, exactly. Now, there are some people that do it for
Yeah.
the rest of their life.
Well,
and
they're really angry.
It's yeah.
That chip's big.
Bruce Banner, I'm angry all the
Yeah.
time. But for the most part, that's not a real human. It's
Yeah.
you if you do everything from a point of hate, then things I feel could go very poorly for you.
Yeah.
But if you go from, this sucks, I've got to live through the suck, I've got to make things better, and there are still good things in my life. If you can point out the good things, if he could have pointed out at the Constantina Rider, about to hop from the Army base onto, from federal land to state land, if he could have gone,
Yeah, but when I get through this, I'm going to be this.
well, yeah, but I mean, fine, you never go back to basic training, but if he just would have said, this is fucking stupid, what am I doing? And then, gone back.
Yep.
Or like I said, left the M4
Or
there
tossed the
and then
M-
just
tossed the M4 in
started
the bushes.
walking all the way to New Jersey.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be better than what he ended
Yes.
up doing. But if he could have identified something that is actually good in his life,
Right.
then you're not so desperate anymore, and you don't make those decisions. And maybe it's and from that point of desperation that everything's in on you, then that's where the bad decisions come from. But if you can stop for that 1 second, breathe, and go, wait a minute.
Not a good idea.
No, but again, can you do that at 23? Can you do that at 53? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. If at 53, I come to a situation to where, I'm forced with how do I deal with this, and I just want to go down that bad road.
Yeah.
Am I going to do that?
I don't know.
I don't know, but my track record, as I've gotten older, and as I've been able to explore more of this and think about it, and again, if that's privilege or not, I don't care. It's, I've taken the time.
It's experience.
I've taken the time when I was poor, and I've taken the time when I wasn't poor in order to think about the things that matter to me, and and that was really the bridge to get to a better point in life. So I'm hoping that when I come up against whatever it is, that whether it's later on today or if it's later on in life, that I make better choices because I've prepared myself, put myself in better mindsets on a daily basis, on a minute by minute basis. Because there's 1,440 minutes in a day, something like that.
I'm gonna go with that.
That's what Les Brown said. There's 1,440 minutes in a day, and it's 1,440 opportunities to change things for yourself or change things for other people or whatever it happens to be. But I feel like on a minute by minute basis, I try, or at least I set like reminders for myself, whether it's the morning journaling, whether it's, something that comes up on my phone, like pictures of my kids.
The bar is so low.
It is.
In life.
It should be.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah.
Seriously, the bar is so low to be excellent.
Yeah.
It baffles me why more people don't try to be excellent.
Sure.
And, the bar's low.
Yeah.
Doesn't take much.
So go be excellent.
Excellent, dudes. That was my Bill and Ted.
Good job. Apparently that's a hard accent, too.
I don't know. Well, that's a good subject, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to study some more about AWOL, and we didn't really get into desertion, but
No.
that's
a whole... Yeah.
it's a different
Yeah.
ball of cheese. But, but that was cool.
Cool.
We'll get some links up and see what everybody else thinks about it. So
Sounds good.
cool.